Okay, so the first question I want to ask you is about your family history. So, Papa, you can start first. So, just
My parents came from Russia, from two suburban areas called Minsk and Pinsk. And they met here and got married in the early 1900s. My father was in World War One, and they had a son, my brother Ruby, and me.
Tell them where you were born.
I was born in my grandfather's house, not in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I didn't know that he was in World War One.
What?
I had no idea he was in World War One.
I think we have a picture of that, don't we?
Of what?
Your father in the war.
We had a...
I don't know what happened. It's probably among all the other pictures.
Okay.
Stevie had it, whatever.
Okay. And do you know anything about your grandparents?
Really, no.
No.
My father had two brothers that were here, Uncle Sam and Uncle Louie. And Uncle Louie had a crazy family. Uncle Sam had one son. He was at our wedding. And as far as my mother's side, she had a big family, 3 brothers and 2 sisters. And lots of cousins and aunts and uncles, and it was pleasant growing up.
That's nice.
Yeah. And then it all ended when I got married.
And then what happened?
God
You got time to tell me that. Are you ready for me?
Yes.
Okay, I was born in the Williamsburg Maternity Hospital. And for some reason or other, everyone tells me I'm crazy, but I seem to remember that when I was born, they placed me in a white wicker basket. And I asked my mother, is that true? And she said yes. But they said impossible that I could remember when I was born. Anyhow, I grew up. I had 2 older sisters, Lil and Evelyn. And I was their pain in the neck because when they wanted to go out somewhere, they had to see that I went to sleep first. And when my mother went out, when I knew my mother was going out, I threw up. I was very upset.
Oh.
And then as I grew up, we lived in Williamsburg. And I went to Eastern District High School after I graduated from PS 54. I was the salutatorian at graduation. And Michael always said I was the smartest girl in a dumb school. He always said that, and I loved it because it was true. But I wasn't smartest, I was second. Now, what else can I tell you? My friend Cynthia lived below us in Williamsburg, the apartment below us, and my sister Lily introduced us to each other. We were both 2 years old, and we remained friends through the years. And she was the maid of honor at my wedding. And what else can I tell you? My mother always praised us. And because she always praised us, we felt we had to live up to her praise. She used to say when she takes off her panties, before she puts them in the hamper, she folds them. She only had nice things to say. She was a great gal. My father was a terrific man. He was on the quiet side. He was, he used to emboss the monuments in the cemetery. And sometimes I would go and help him with the printing. He was an artist, actually. He was one of 13 children.
Wow.
And they were all artists in one way or another. Uncle Saul was an artist with a pencil. He did beautiful drawings. Uncle Mike would sit at the piano and play without ever having taken a lesson. And anyhow, my father was one of 13 children. Did I tell you that already? Of the 13 children, there were no boys born to the brothers, only girls. So there was no one to carry on the family name. So my uncle adopted a baby because he couldn't have any children. And they were very small people, very petite. But they didn't want him to know that he was adopted. But he grew up to be a tall, big guy, not at all like them. And they kind of kept away from the family because they didn't want him to know that he was adopted, although he was the only one to carry on the freed name.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I wonder,
you want more?
Well, one more question. Was your mom and your dad, they were born in Hungary?
Yes.
What cities in Hungary?
Well, Nana Minnie was born in Budapest, and Papa Abe was born in Sutmar. And they never spoke much Yiddish because my grandparents spoke Hungarian. And the whole family, Tante Rosa and Yene and Budish and all the Hungarian family were very clannish. And the men of the family, except for my father, came first. They were fed first before the children. And they were typical Hungarians. But my father was a real pussycat.
What brought them to the United States from Hungary?
Gee, it's a very good question. I don't know the answer. I think they were teenagers when they came to the United States. And they met here. My mother went to school here, and my father, and all the Hungarian men got together here, and they were all in the monument business. So
That's great.
yeah, so
Thank
that was
you.
really something. Very
For
clannish.
a wedding present, they gave us a twin tombstone.
Not true. But Papa always says that.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thanks for all that info. That's
Okay.
a lot.
I probably could go on and on, but you don't want to go on
Considering
forever.
time,
Yes.
we'll go to the next question.
Okay.
Papa, what would you say were some of the best days of your life, not including weddings and births? What were some of the most exciting?
When the Giants, Bobby Thompson hit a home run with 2 out in the 9th inning to win the World Series. I always had mainly good things as life progressed. Getting married, having 3 wonderful children, and then for my children giving me 4 wonderful grandchildren, including the princess, what's her name? I think it was Jenny or something like that.
Who was your firstborn grandson?
Yeah, I'm just saying about my princess that
Yes.
was born. Yeah, and we're very, very lucky and very rich, the family that we have, because I see many people around us that we hear nothing but bad things about. I don't speak to this one, I don't talk to this one. And we have never said anything to our grandchildren negative. We always build them up because they deserve it, and we're very proud of them, and we will always be proud of them and love them.
That's great. And Nana, can you think of some of the best days of
The
your life?
best days of my life. Let's see what it was. Well, as Papa said, I agree with everything he said. I think my graduation from high school was very exciting because here I was salutatorian, and that was a great honor. And I still remember the first few words I spoke. It was Dr. Moskowitz, um, dear family and friends, and honored guests. Today we enter a new world. That's about all I remember of the speech.
I have something to state that I should have stated before. How I met my wife. A friend of mine was going with his girlfriend, and I met her on a blind date. So right after she graduated, July 4th weekend. And I came from a Jewish mother who didn't go to sleep until I came home from my date, no matter what time. Anyway, I came home from the date, I remember. Midnight, my mother said, "So how was your date?" I said, "I married that girl." She looks at me like I'm crazy. Anyway, she got her first job a block from where I worked, and we had lunch almost every day and started going out. I met her family, she met my family. Both families loved each other. Anyway, came Rosh Hashanah. My mother comes home to me and says, and my mother was an English major. She says, "Guess what? I was to my jeweler today and he had a very good buy an engagement ring." She gave it to me, I can sign, and F. may want it. So she comes home and says, blah, blah, blah. So I got forced into getting engaged.
Poor Papa.
We were engaged 3 months after we met, and 6 months after that we were married, and it gets better every day.
Did you want to add anything, Anna, to best days? Or
Yes, when Papa gave me the engagement ring, my mother had a very, very bad case of poison ivy. She had gone to the cemetery to visit someone, and she was pulling the weeds from around the grave, and she got poison ivy. But so bad, her face was so distorted, and she was a beautiful lady, my mother. You'd never recognize her. So she used to go to the doctor wearing a kerchief and dark glasses and as covered as she could be. And they always said that if a man looks at his future wife's mother, he'll know exactly what his wife will look like in later years. So, if that's true or not, I don't know. But he married me anyhow. Okay.
well, speaking of marriage, we've talked a lot about marriage recently, and I always find that to be a good topic because you two have been married for 62 years, which amazes me and everyone else around you. And so I want to know what makes for a good marriage and what keeps it going, especially when times get really hard.
A lot of Scotch tape. We came from a different generation. In our generation, if you were going to marry the girl, you married her. This generation, you live with her for 5 years, and then you get married after 2 kids or whatever. But I wasn't the easiest person, I know, and I admit it. But I find that as I get older, I'm more mellow. I don't hold as many grudges as I used to. And I think I'm getting better. Finally.
And how?
You don't have to agree.
It's true. Anyhow, life was not easy because first of all, I was very young. I was married a month before my 19th birthday. And so I was really a baby myself. But we lived with Aunt Evie and Sherry. That's why we were able to save our money. We didn't pay rent.
So we waited for our apartment to be built.
Oh, yes. Around the corner from Aunt Evie, our apartment was being built. And when I was pregnant, when I became pregnant with Stuart, I lived with Aunt Evie, Harold was 2 years old, and we adored him, Papa and I. And we couldn't imagine how we could possibly love our own child as much as we loved him. But lo and behold, Stuart was born. We went to live with Nana because we were waiting for our apartment to be built. So we lived with her for 7 weeks. And then we moved into our own apartment. And here I was, 20 years old, and I didn't know what to do. Because I lived with Aunt Evie, I didn't know if I was supposed to sweep the floor or feed the baby. So I cried. And I called up my mother, and she came over and stopped, and I stopped crying, and the baby stopped crying, and I learned when to sweep the floor, when to feed the baby, and we went on to a wonderful life. Do you want me to talk about the children or not?
Well, you could say, is there anything, any message you have about raising children?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I feel my friend Cynthia's mother was very hyper and yelled at her, and it wasn't easy. I remember her throwing a shoe at her at one time.
Oof.
And I felt that if we praised these children, they would grow up like we did. You know, to appreciate the praise, to live up to it. And boy, we were so lucky. We had 3 children, different as day and night.
But one thing you should know, we had 3 boys. We were not parents. We were umpires and referees.
Yeah, I know.
Because they were active and very sports-minded.
Yes, that's true.
It was very difficult having 3 children in 4 years. But my mother said to me, when I became pregnant with Michael, my mother said, "Don't worry, I will help you. I will be with you every day."
Yes.
Because one of my friends said, "Gee, Pearl, if it was me, I would shoot myself."
I'm glad you didn't do that. I'm very glad you didn't do that.
And I don't know, I could never believe that all the 3 boys, and they were terrors, all of them.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that one day they would all go to school and I would have a few hours to myself. But you know what? It happened.
Yes.
And so fast. Times goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Pop, anything about raising children?
You have to have a lot of patience, which I probably didn't have as much as I should have. But they were all sports-minded. And Nana, in order for her to be involved with the family, she had to get involved in that. She learned sports, and to this day, she watched sports on TV with me.
Oh, you're so lucky.
And understands it and everything.
Wow. That's amazing.
Sometimes I think I like it better than he does, because I like to go to a game and be there in person. Papa would rather watch it on TV.
Oh.
My biggest thrill, not that I wasn't proud of all my sons. My son Stuart was playing Little League Baseball, and they were playing for the championship. And he gets up and men on base, and I say to one of the guys, "Boy, wouldn't it be great?"
Talk louder.
It was Father's Day when the championship game was. And I said, "Wouldn't it be great if he hit a home run?" And what does he do? He goes, hits a home run.
Oh, that's great.
And I was
That's
so
so great.
excited and proud.
That's so great.
But I've always was proud of all my sons from day one.
Yeah, and it's true. They all are very different. They always have been very different.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Coming from the same parents, being raised the same way,
Yes.
and each one was so different personality.
Yes.
And I remember my mother used to say to me that if it seems that I love one of my children more than the others, it's simply because that child needs me more at the time.
My dad has said that to me too.
That's
I've
true.
heard that before.
Yeah, because you're a middle child, and
Yes.
so is Jeffrey, and he
Yes.
needs more attention.
Yeah. Well, luckily I'm the only girl, so.
Oh boy, and you were all princess. Well, it was that exciting. As a matter of fact, we were at a ball game when you were born.
I know, I
It
remember.
was a Sunday.
I know.
We were at a football game and I called at halftime and your grandmother told us that you were born.
That's right.
Okay, so I have another question is, what are your biggest regrets about life?
Biggest regrets. Well, I think my biggest regret was originally I wanted 6 boys.
Oh, wow.
But after having 3 in 4 years, I changed my mind very fast. And I regret not having more because each child that is born, you find more love within you for that child. Every child has its own love. It's never that you will love one more than another, but you find more love within yourself for your children.
That's
And
beautiful.
grandchildren.
That is so beautiful.
Okay.
I think the only regret I have is, looking back, that I probably could have been a better father and a better husband. But that's the way life is, and I try my best now. I think I'm pretty successful because I got a wonderful family.
And can I say, he's a terrific guy.
Yeah.
Terrific guy. And Stuart gets very annoyed when he puts himself down because Stuart, they all think he's a great guy, and he is.
Yeah.
No, I just think she's a better person than I. It's nothing personal. She is. That's all.
I think that Papa, that you are a really wonderful guy, and that you're so important to the family, and your energy is wonderful, and you go out, everyone loves you and knows you because you talk to everyone, you make them feel special, and you just really, I think you're just a wonderful person.
Well, I'm sorry. I'll have to change my ways then.
What a lovely thing to say.
It's true, it's
And
true.
it's true,
He
and
adds so
it's-
much to our
Wherever she
family.
goes on the
beautiful.
trail, this one, hi.
Yeah, exactly. Everywhere you go, someone knows you, and
True.
even at the restaurant we went to last night,
We met
the
someone we knew.
the young guy who was the
waiter,
waiter,
busboy,
or the busboy,
actually.
he even said to you guys how excited he was to see you, and you always light him up. And I think
Yes.
that you guys do that. Wherever you go, you make people feel good.
True.
So you have a very
That-
special way, and it's
that
both
is-
of you do that.
Thank you.
Well, I'll
That's
give you
beautiful.
one hint that always works. If you ever go to a restaurant and a waitress is serving you food, you say to her, you should be wearing a plastic glove when serving, and she'll give you a look like, what did I do? And you say, the reason why you should wear a plastic glove is when you hold the plate with food, you make it too sweet. And that cracks them up always.
I like that. My next question is it really, I don't think I've asked you this question ever, but I wanted to know what you believe about the afterlife. What happens when you die? Do you believe in God?
That's a very good question. But, having lost our baby, our youngest son, is the most difficult thing a parent could go through. There's nothing worse than that. However, in time, you've got to realize you have other children who need you, and you have grandchildren who need you, and you got to go on living.
Life goes
And
on.
my hope, my deepest hope, is that when my time comes to leave, I'm going to meet up with my son again, and that gives me such comfort. So I'm very happy about that. I do think, and everyone tells me, we will meet up someday. All of us will. And that does give me comfort.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people up there waiting for you. There are many people.
That's true. Many people.
Where I'm going, there ain't many people down there.
Oh,
Oh, you're so bad.
You see, you're telling the truth, that's all.
He is as good to me as gold. He serves me breakfast in bed every morning. Well, at night before I go to sleep, he massages my feet. And the 3 words, I love you, we say to each other at least once a day and every day. And for 62 years, that's a lot of I love you.
And as far as she goes, I always introduce her as a woman made of iron to put up with me all these years.
Well, I think a marriage takes two to tango, and I guess you both put up with
Absolutely.
each other.
Yes,
Right.
darling.
Right?
That's true. As a matter of fact, Papa is much more the mother hen than I am. He's a worrier, and I try to tell him all the grandchildren are adults. They're not babies anymore. Although now we have one that is 1 in a million. You can't find her anywhere. Anyone like her. But we have wonderful daughter-in-laws. We have a wonderful princess. And what did I start to say? I had a reason, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, that's okay. Well, if it comes to mind, we'll come back to
Okay,
it.
good.
Okay. And Papa, anything that you want to say about the afterlife, or?
I really don't know much about afterlife, and as they say in the French, que sera, sera, and that's it. When we die, we're both going to be, what are we going to do?
Be together or gone?
We're going to be cremated. Cremated.
What are we gonna do?
Cremated. Where our ashes will go, and who knows, whatever.
Yeah. Well,
Anyhow, I mean, we have so much to live for, and every day we enjoy a life.
yeah.
We do what we want to. We forgive each other's faults, because everybody has faults. And we are all responsible for ourselves.
And can't
the
wait for
point
this
is-
interview to be over with. Her.
For 62 years, we've had what is known as a love affair, which is pretty unusual for that number of years. And hopefully there'll be many more to come.
Yes. Well, I know Papa's dying for this interview to be over, so I'll finish with one more question.
Is this going to be on YouTube or something?
On
No,
Channel 9.
The question is, what do you wish for Olivia and for future children that come into the family?
The two things you wish for means everything in the world, and that's health and happiness. That's it. You have that, you have everything.
That's so true. We want her to be happy, and we want her, she is the firstborn in the 4th generation. So we hope that when the time comes, she will take over and be the matriarch of the family, as I am now, as Jen, being the only girl born to the Liff, will soon too. And where's the next generation? And of my 3 sons, who are now 2, they make our lives very happy. They call us constantly. They let us know what's going on in California. And we have so much to be grateful for.
What we
And
see
we are.
around with our friends and their family, none of them come close to our family. But togetherness, warmth, and love. And nothing beats that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Well, anything else you want to say before we end
How
that?
much do I get paid for this interview?
$200.
That's the best offer I had today, I take it.
Anyhow, we enjoyed the interview. And probably, if I thought a little more, I could think of other things, and Papa too. But as we grow older, we tend to forget a little bit more.
Yes.
So the children are going to remember us, and since we are a part of all of them, they're going to carry on the way we started.
Yes, I like that. And you guys have, just wanted to end by saying you guys have been really just wonderful grandparents and so important to me, and I've learned so many things about life from the two of you, and I wanted to take this interview so that other people can see it and learn from you what I've learned from you, and see how special you two
Is this
have
going to go
been.
on
How
Dr. Bill
beautiful.
or 60 Minutes?
I love
Okay.
that, honey.
All right.
As I love you and all of you.
Love you more.
I love you most. See, I won.
All right.
The baby's had some nap.
Good,
2
because
hours.
on the plane.
How about some of the best
All right. Goodbye. Oh, best Papa-isms? Oh, Papa, do you have any phrases you want to say? Anything? What's your phrase about life?
Life is not a bowl of cherries.
That's true. What else?
And never,
I don't know if I mentioned my wonderful daughter-in-law, Lisa, and my wonderful granddaughter, Ilana, because they make me so happy, because I was the only girl among all the boys. Then came my Jen, she became my princess. Then came Lisa. Pat was our first daughter-in-law whom we loved. And then it came Ilana, who is not only a wonderful granddaughter, but a wonderful mother. I am so proud of all my boys, all my girls. Mark, I think you have progressed so much. You really became a man. Rob will always be my firstborn. Jenny will always be my princess. So I guess I must be the queen.
All right.
Okay.
The king and queen's time to rest.
Now can I say it too?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Okay. Goodbye.
I'm surprised the baby's sleeping.